everyone, Kate Max here, doing my very first podcast of 2019 and my very first podcast ever. It's the new year, so I figured why not try something new? So when my friends over at Sex Because invited me to start chatting on a podcast, I figured, yeah, let's give it a go. So you're probably wondering who I am and what I do and why I should even have a podcast. What could I ever talk about? Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Kate Max, and I'm a professional naked person. So, professional naked person, what does that even mean? Well, that's a fair question because I did make up the title, and here's why. You go through life going to a lot of meetings, birthday parties, anywhere that you meet new people through friends or out and about. And the question always comes up, what do you do? So my whole life, I've never been really great at holding a job that gave me a salary. I couldn't do it for some reason. So I took a lot of gig work, which means I would work on projects for a while and maybe have multiple things going on at the same time, and then keep changing projects throughout my life. So there was never really a job title that I had. The only thing that I could figure out that they all had in common was that at some point I would get naked. So because I was making a living doing it, and because it's very obvious when I say the title, that's how I came up with professional naked person. I guess you might be wondering if professional naked person is just another way to say stripper. Well, you wouldn't be totally wrong, but you'd also be surprised at how many jobs there are that you can get naked for. Probably not anything where you work in an office, or probably nothing to do with science, but believe me, there are options out there. So I'm just going to quickly go through my list of gigs, everything I do, and then we can chat about, you know what, let's chat about some first times since it's my first podcast of the year and I'm trying new things. So let me tell you about the first time I tried some new things, and hopefully you'll share some of your first time experiences with me too. So let's go down the list of all the things that I do as a professional naked person. So I started off as a nude model, which means I would get hired into photographers' studios and pose naked. Sometimes there would be one photographer, sometimes there would be a whole bunch. They call those workshops. That's when photographers come and learn from an expert and they have a model there. So there's about 10 to 15 people in the room taking pictures of you and taking turns. So that was my very first gig ever naked, was as a nude model. From there, we progressed to doing nude scenes as an actor. I mean, I had scenes where there was no nudity, but a lot of my roles, for some reason, called for some to a lot of nudity. So it kind of spiraled into a whole bunch of different things. So when you're an actor and you put it out there that, yeah, sure, I'm okay with nudity and I don't have a problem doing naked auditions, you get a lot of interesting offers. So one of them I came across was an audition to broadcast the news while you get naked. I figured, why not? Let's try that. So I ended up working on that show under a different name for about 3 years. And what I did there, I read the news while I stripped down from usually lingerie, sometimes clothes, to all the way naked while reading the news and telling you your daily updates. I also interviewed bands, comedians, all kinds of guests naked. I also went out on the streets naked, in parks, beaches, anywhere where you wouldn't get arrested for being topless, you'd find me there. Or even naked, some places let you go fully naked. So I did that for a little while, and then from there I became a naked party host and MC for Young Swingers Week, which is held at Hedonism in Negril, Jamaica. If you're not familiar with hedonism, I'll give you a quick rundown about what it is. It's a very, very clothing optional resort, which pretty much means you can be naked anywhere you want to be, except for the dining room, sanitary purposes. There's also a lot of naked activities going on everywhere, anywhere from, say, naked yoga to orgies, that kind of thing. So, and anything in between. So, my job as a naked party host and MC, I call it party enforcer because really I host a naked pool party every day at Young Swingers Week, which has fun games like whipped cream bikini eating contest. I host the pole competition, the naked goat races, the list goes on and on. But basically, my job is to make sure that everyone's partying, everyone's having a good time, meeting each other, and eventually, hopefully, hooking up with people that they like. When I'm not hosting naked parties in paradise, I tour across Canada as a showgirl. Now you can say, isn't that a fancy name for stripper? Well, I mean, you would be right because I did start off as a stripper and it kind of evolved into the showgirl thing, which the big difference is I don't just give lap dances and I don't just go on stage and kind of walk around and get naked. I do a lot of theme shows with custom music, prizes, games. There's all kinds of crazy things. Sometimes there's a shower, sometimes there's whipped cream. I use a lot of LED lights in my show. Some of the themes I like to do, Star Wars is always a big one. I like to dress up as a Jawa and strip down to be Princess Leia and then strip down to nothing. I also do a James Bond show. I do all kinds of things like 80s workout. My last one was strawberry shortcake. There was a lot of whipped cream involved. I just like to have a lot of fun on stage, and I do find a lot of joy in stripping. That's something that I've always, deep down in my heart, been really into, if you haven't noticed. So that's probably how it all ties into being a professional naked person. And now that's all that has evolved into being a content provider online, which is things like this, the podcast. I also have my own subscription-based social media, and with that comes a lot of magazine publishings and interviews and all kinds of cool things. So that sums up the title, Professional Naked Person. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I couldn't think of anything else to call myself because, like I said, all that is a mouthful, and no one wants to hear me talk about like 7 different jobs. So Professional Naked Person is what I came up with.